Hey guys, this is Jeff from Raymond Search Group coming at you with another episode of Construction Over Coffee. Today I have Brian Rist, the Executive Chairman of StormSmart with me. StormSmart is a leader in hurricane protection located down in Southwest Florida. StormSmart is a 5-time recipient of Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies. They've won numerous awards for the work that they do, being recognized by everyone from Florida Weekly, Best of News Press, Lee County Economic Development Office, Southwest Regional Manufacturing Association, and the Cape Coral Community Foundation. Without further ado, Brian, it's great to have you on the show. Really looking forward to talking with you today.
Jeff, thank you. It really is my honor, and it's always fun to talk to somebody who is from Massachusetts like I originally was from.
Absolutely. For those who don't know, Brian and I are both fellow UMass Lowell Riverhawks, which
Riverhawks.
Yeah. Rare to find someone down in Florida that even knows what UMass Lowell is.
Right, and you know, I'll tell you, today we employ. I'm not the only Riverhawk at my company. There's 3 of us now, and it was kind of accidental that all happened.
Wow.
So our school is getting better known.
Excellent. So Brian, a couple of things we're gonna cover today is obviously your background, your industry, the growth, the incredible growth you've experienced, and really the direction that you see things heading in your industry and in construction and in similar industries all around. So let's start with, tell us a little bit about how did you get started in your industry, in the hurricane protection industry?
Well, what happened was I was working for Overhead Door Corporation, and business was good. We were doing mostly new construction, and I was on the east coast of Florida. Then one day in August, in I think it was '92, this thing called Hurricane Andrew came along, and it just devastated all of South Dade County, and so we spent 18 months after Hurricane Andrew helping to rebuild Southeast Florida. And during that time, I got to learn a lot about why some buildings were more resistant to the storm and some were not. But in those days, the only way to really protect a home was through metal panels or plywood. Mm-hmm. And I watched that and watched people trying to put them up, and I just knew there had to be a better way. So we started to look at different products that would work that way. But during the research, we discovered, I think it's pretty well known, that what really happened in Hurricane Andrew in a lot of cases was the garage doors failed. The garage door in most houses, and certainly in the houses in Southeast Florida, are the largest opening on your house. And then before these new codes came into place, they were also the weakest opening in your house. So we watched the houses that failed, and really what happened is during the course of the storm, roof tiles would start to fly around, hit the garage door. That garage door started oscillating. It eventually came off the tracks. And that's what, in those days, it was like a little scuttle hole, most of the time drywall in your attic. And when that pressure came in, it just blew that scuttle hole open and just pressurized the house. And that's really what caused it. So what we thought was take that weakest opening in the house and try to make it the best. And so I developed this garage door bracing system that really took that door and made it from the weakest opening in your house to one of your strongest openings. And that was really the first product that we developed and brought to market. And so that was how we got into hurricane protection business. But once we were there, it kind of just flowed over into shutters and looking at the trouble in the devastation that was caused by Andrew, just showed me there was a need to come up with some way of making homes in Florida safer for hurricanes.
Hurricanes are a really big problem for a lot of areas of the country, especially Florida. So it's
they
great
truly
to have
are
a solution there.
But they are one, though, that if you prepare correctly, I mean, they're an act of God and they're certainly serious. But today, with the new codes and the way you build it, really, you can build a house correctly, and the chances of it withstanding a major hurricane are greatly improved. And you know, we work a lot with the people in the building codes, and I'm not aware of any new code built house that's gone through a hurricane and had catastrophic failure. Now, sometimes you have bad luck and a tree falls on your roof and that's a problem. But generally speaking, now with the newer codes, you can prepare for that. And I will say, hurricanes come and go pretty quickly. Your winter lasts an awful long time.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So being in the, you're in a very unique industry. You're in a very, I guess, a specific niche, specific subset category, whatever you prefer to refer to it as. What's something interesting about what you do that people that aren't from that industry would find intriguing? What particularly might be interesting or strange or different?
Probably the reason one of the reasons I think our company has been so successful is that we figured out a way to develop products that resist hurricanes, but also save energy. So, whether you're ever going to have a hurricane or not, only God will know and time will tell. But most of the products that we use today, that we develop today, that we install today, also save energy. They also create added living space. They also create more privacy. They serve a lot of other functions than hurricane protection. And so when you're trying to have a business, if your sole purpose is just protecting from hurricanes, I mean, there's certainly a need for that, but you're somewhat limited and you rise and fall by hurricanes. What we do is we create products that save energy. And oh, by the way, the hurricane protection.
And that is why StormSmart is not only hurricane protection, but lifestyle products as well.
Correct. And again, what happens in life is when you go a number of years and you don't have a hurricane, last year was an extremely busy hurricane season, but sometimes we'll go 4 or 5 years and not have a hurricane. And so your business kind of tails out if your sole marketing source is hurricanes. Mm-hmm. And people forget and they get busy and they just don't do it. But if you got a product that creates more living space or saves energy, it really makes a big difference. Now, I don't know if we're going to have a hurricane this summer, and nobody knows, but I do know that you're going to get an electric bill next month, and it's probably going to be higher than it was the month before. And if I can show you ways of saving you money on that power bill, then my products become a little bit more interesting.
Something that you touched on is something we hear a lot from companies in different and similar spaces. One is the remodel renovation. When weather's good and things are fairly stable, a couple months, even a couple of years can go by where business is good. And then you get a major event like a hurricane, what happened in Texas, and then it becomes good luck finding those people. Right. So I'm curious, how does StormSmart start to prepare? And when events like those happen, how do you scale up to meet that demand?
Scaling up is one of the most challenging parts of owning a business and running a business. Especially, you mentioned that we've been honored by Inc. magazine as being one of the fastest growing privately held companies. Forget about construction of all kinds in the United States. So we've been experiencing rapid growth for a long time. It's almost impossible for us to scale up for a major event. We just scale up always because we're growing so fast. I think last year our sales were up by 64%. We've been busy for more than a decade. So we've been in a growth mode, in a hiring mode, a training mode for a long time. Now, we happen to live in Southwest Florida, which is also an area that is a growth area, which certainly doesn't hurt us or our economy. But what it does hurt is that there's a shortage of labor, and that's always a problem. So we've kind of taken a position that we kind of created StormSmart University, and we try to hire great people for attitude and aptitude, and then we train them to be great employees of StormSmart.
You touched on a problem that is really unique to the construction industry. In spite of everything that's happened over the last year, construction and the trades and the crafts have been one of the bright spots in the economy. And, we hear all the time that finding the right people is hard. It was hard before, it's even harder now. And I think one of the reasons for that we can touch on here is growing up, especially folks who are between the ages of 25, 35, 40, you can call them from a couple different generations. They were never told that construction or the trades is a viable career. They were told the mantra of go to college, get a degree, work in tech, work in accounting and finance, get a real job. And that created a huge skills gap and a huge people gap in the markets that we work in. So tell us a little bit more about Storm Smart University, because that's interesting.
Well, you hit on a lot of really important parts, and I don't want to. We're here to talk about construction, but I do think you're absolutely right. I think our school system missed the boat a number of years ago, and when we started saying everybody should go to college, I promise you that there are people who work for our company who make far more money than most people who go to college, and they don't have the debt. They didn't spend 4 or 5 years of their life. Now, I went to college, and I'm not saying if you're meant to go to college, you shouldn't go to college, but you're certainly not a failure simply because you don't go to college. And I think that was something that we did a few years ago, or maybe a couple of generations ago, that we really need to think about, because that was truly a mistake. I think when we got away from vocational schools, I think we made a huge mistake, but that we're paying the price for now. So you're right. It is very, very hard to find great experienced people. And often when you do, they come with their set of problems, because here in Southwest Florida, we are almost 100% employed. And the people that are unemployed, you probably don't really want them. So we go a different way at it. And we spend a lot of time working with the schools, the high schools, the small amount of trade schools that are here, even the colleges that are here. And we try to find the best people we can find, and then inspire them with the stories about the success. We're in the construction business, no doubt about it. But less than 30% of the people who work for us is our employees, and we employ almost 300 people, are really actually swinging a hammer or doing something construction. We have all kinds of things. Most people, over 60% of the people who work for us, sit behind a computer and do computer work all day long, and whether it's engineering, whether it's drafting, whether it's administrative. So we're constantly looking for those people. And we try to find great people, then we invest in them, and we never stop investing in them and try to make them great people, because in the end, if I make that employee a better employee, we become a better company. Our only limitation to our continued growth is the number of great people we have. We're very fortunate. We're in a business where our products are in high demand. So we can basically sell as much as we can manufacture and install. So what we have to do is get more people and more systems in place so that we can manufacture and install more. And that comes from great people. So we work on that. And then once you get somebody, if they fit that mold, you can't lose them. You got to inspire them and make them want to continue working and growing with your company. And we do that in a lot of different ways, so that once we have them, we don't lose them to a competitor for an extra buck.
It's hard enough finding the right person. It's harder once you lose them, especially after investing so much.
Yeah, it really is. It's very, very disappointing after you spend all this time and money. But what we do is first of all, we create a culture that makes them want to be part of a team. And that's really a big trick in this game. You create a workspace in a company that they're proud to work for, and they love coming to work, so they come to work. And then you help them to continue to grow. I mean, if somebody works for Storm Smart and they want to go to almost any kind of school, we'll reimburse them for that education. I mean, then you certainly have the benefits. And this year, after what we went through with the pandemic, maybe 35% of our people don't even come to work anymore. They work from their house. So we're very flexible about that as well. and you treat them correctly and show them opportunities so they can continue to grow and make more money. And so almost everybody who works for our companies on some kind of incentive program that the more we do, the more they get.
Great. Now, thankfully, it seems like your company really never slowed down during the pandemic when other companies didn't even know what to do. I wouldn't use the term you guys sailed through it, but you certainly didn't slow down. What do you think you were doing differently?
Okay,
The companies who really suffered.
It was the craziest thing in the world because, I mean, all of us went through this last year, and when we did our planning for 20, we certainly didn't have that in the plan. But we did think we were going to continue to grow. And so I remember the first couple of months of 20 was going pretty good. And then all of a sudden the pandemic came. And so nobody really knew what was going to happen, but I brought in our senior management team and we were kind of planning for the worst. We thought we'd get shut down. The whole world would get shut down for 6 or 8 weeks. And this pandemic would go behind us. And we were blessed, and we were in a position where we knew we could pay our people for about 10 weeks. And so I had no idea that it would last longer than that. They were saying 6 or 8 weeks. So we began to shut everybody down. We bought as many laptops and computers as we can, and we started sending people home. But we're manufacturers, and you can't manufacture from home. So we were really in a tough spot, but we were preparing for the worst. Then all of a sudden, our phones started ringing. And what happened was, when everybody went home and started getting locked down, everybody looked at each other and said, well, what do you want to do? They said, well, we're home, let's fix up our house. And so they started, a lot of our customers are fairly affluent, and they would go to Europe during the off season, and they'd go back up north for the summer, or they'd go on expensive vacations. They'd go out to dinner all the time. Well, none of that was happening. So they had money that they never expected. And then what also happened was, we're in Florida. And so everybody who, let's say, was living in Massachusetts, they said, okay, honey, we can be locked down here in Florida, or we can be locked down in Massachusetts. Let me think which one I want to do. And in most cases, Florida went out. So that just kept the people here that were normally seasonal, they stayed here through the summer. Then you had the meteorologists come on TV and radio and say, hey guys, we expect this to be a very significant hurricane season, far above average, and you need to prepare for it. So all of a sudden, our phones just started ringing off the hook, and our May, June, and July were the busiest months we ever had in our 26-year season, time in business. And so our problem wasn't how we were going to keep everybody employed. Our problem was trying to find more people to be employed. And so we just continue to grow. Now, working during the pandemic certainly had its challenges, because in our business, we have to go to your house, meet you, do some measuring, and show you our products. So we had to figure out how to do that. And through technology, we figured that out pretty quickly. But then we had to come back to your house and install it where we're going to be there for a few days. And we had to do that safely. And that was a bit of a challenge. And with the government let us do it. But we were deemed an essential operation, so the government stayed out of our way. Then the challenge was, okay, now we have factories where we have people working in it, and we've got to make sure those people are safe and felt comfortable working. So we followed all the CDC guidelines and made it all work. And knock on wood, we really got through it far better than we ever expected to. And our business never slowed down.
I love hearing that. Now, one of the advantages of being in Florida, besides the awesome weather while everyone else is getting snowed on and frozen, is at a state level, we've noticed construction firms down there have done a lot better. Some for reasons that you've alluded to, but others is that the state remained open. The economy, for the most part, remained open and continues to remain open today. How do you see some of the technology and some of the, I guess, the changes that you made over the last year, either staying or not staying or adjusting how you do business in the future?
Oh, I think we learned a tremendous amount, and I don't know that we'll ever go back to exactly how we used to do it. We're just so much more efficient by using technology today, and it's so much more convenient for the consumer that we can do so much more through DocuSign and Digitals and Salesforce and all the different platforms that we developed. And I, and through technology, I can show you what your house is going to look like today, your house looks like today, and what it's going to look like tomorrow. And you're just so much more efficient. Now, nothing makes up for sitting down and touching and meeting each other. That's really a fun part about life. But I think that a lot of the technology we put in place in 20 will certainly stick around forever and maybe even continue to evolve.
Now, is StormSmart still doing the majority of their visits virtual only? Is it mostly in person, hybrid, 50-50? What are you seeing right now?
No, we're Florida is a little different than other states. I'm not saying we don't take the pandemic seriously, and I'm not saying that the pandemic isn't serious. I'm certainly not doing that. But if you practice the CDC guidelines, we've been able to figure out a way to operate safely in today's world. So we like to meet the people we're dealing with. So we do generally go to their house and meet them and share different ideas together so that we understand the improvements you want to get made. Now, a lot of the legal stuff, the contracts and things like that are done through technology. And a lot of times we'll meet you now in the beginning, and then the rest of the transactions will be done through the internet because you go back up to Massachusetts and Michigan or wherever you're from. But we're pretty much an in-person company. We're seeing now a lot of times if they're concerned, they'll stay in the house and we'll be on the lanai, we'll be on their back porch, and we'll kind of just do things through the sliding glass doors if they're really worried. But generally speaking, I mean, our people wear masks, and we're certainly aware of how you're supposed to handle things. But here in Florida, people most people are back talking to each other.
Yeah, that's the beauty of what's going on is everyone has a different comfort level, and
Right.
They do what's safe, and they abide by what's comfortable for them. On the DocuSign electronic aspect, I've lost count of how many companies that we've worked with that were on a paper only model.
Right.
And they discovered things like DocuSign, PandaDoc, all these digital solutions. And not only did it get things done quicker, but how much easier is it pulling up a file digitally than going to the back office, opening up the storage container and looking for it?
Jeff, I mentioned that we've been a fast growing company, and we have, but we're just like anybody else. We used to have file folders all over the place. And everybody's job all day long, it seemed like, was trying to find a certain folder or another folder, and who had the Smith folder. And we would have file cabinets, all throughout the whole building, of just file cabinet after file cabinet, and all that's gone. And if I want to find your file, I type in a couple of keywords and bang, I'm there. I want to send you a copy of your contract, bang, I send it. I want to work from my home today, bang, I'm doing it. The technology has changed everything. I mean, just look what we're doing right now. We're here talking on a Zoom call, and I think probably most of us spend half our life on Zoom or Teams or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And you get so much more done. And, with going up a different level or higher level, when I deal with our suppliers, they used to come to my office every week or every 2 weeks, and we'd go to lunch and all those things there, which was fun. And it was all part of doing business. But today I can meet 6 suppliers by 1 o'clock and I'm done, and I've never left my office, and it's just so much more efficient.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll do the virtual thing too. Most of our folks we work with, they're on the phone or they're on Zoom for the majority of their workday. And now in the past, with what would be an in-person lunch with pizza and orange soda or whatever your preference is, now, if they're comfortable with it, fine. But for the firms that we work with that either aren't local or are not comfortable with certain things, we can do it virtually. It's
Yeah,
great.
and they've made it so easy, because before we used to do conference calls and we
Sure.
get 6 people on a conference. Now I don't really do a lot of conference calls. It's all Zoom or Team or WebEx, whatever it is, and so we can see each other at the same time. So it's even that's gone away, and we can see technology. And I don't know. I don't see much or feel much different between you being in the same room with me right now and us doing what we're doing right now. I think we accomplished the same thing, except for I didn't travel to Massachusetts, and unfortunately you didn't get to travel to Florida, but that's a whole other thing. So
Right. Right. It is interesting how technology has changed. Now, manufacturing, engineering, construction, architecture, those industries as a whole tend to be very slow to adopt to changes. Whether it is how they file their taxes, how they do meetings, what software they're using for project management, those industries as a whole tend to be really slow to change and adopt. It's like change is just not something they do. But the beauty of, if anything, I guess, if anything that's happened is it has kind of forced the hand of companies and shown them that you do need to change your ways, you need to get current. And a lot of firms, a lot of companies in those industries have been forced to adopt. In the beginning, it was begrudgingly so. It was, I have to do this, so I'm doing it. But now they're kind of embracing it. And you're seeing technology with drones, with the ability to do measurements in homes where you're not even as physically present as you used to be. And it's really changing the game. And I think moving forward, there's going to be three big things that dictate whether companies are going to be successful in those industries. The first is how you treat your people. That should be a given.
no
The
doubt.
second is how are you adopting technology and utilizing it? That's a big thing. And then third, which we'll touch on, is training. If you treat your people well, if you're current with the times and you train them and help them grow, I think you're light years ahead of every other company. Those three things have really been lacking in those industries for a long time. And the events of the last year have really forced firms to either adapt, struggle, or
Well, you're
expire.
you're 100% correct, and it's really just as simple as that. You can't scale if you don't have great people. And the only way people become great is you treat them right and you help them to become greater. You can't scale if you're doing things the way you did it when you were that size. You just simply can't do it. There is, even with great people, if you don't use technology, in many problems, you just can't simply throw enough people at a problem to solve it. That usually doesn't solve a problem. You have to use technology. Now, the cool thing that's happened with technology is it's also become far more advanced, and it's a lot simpler to use. I mean, we adopted Salesforce about 18 months ago, and I'm not here to do a commercial with Salesforce, but it's an extremely user-friendly piece of software. You don't need a programmer and all that stuff to do those. Those days of instituting software that takes 18 months to implement it, they're gone. They're dinosaurs too. And so today's software is a lot more user-friendly. And you're right about technology. Today, we use lasers that I can come out to your house, and while I'm talking to you about the things you're looking for, I have this camera I can put in your backyard, and it spins around and takes a laser shot of your house. And whether you buy today or whether you buy 2 years from today, I know every single dimension on your house, not just for the products I'm going to sell, but maybe for some other products that I might be selling 2 years from now, and I never have to go back to your house again. So it's just that more efficient. But that doesn't happen if you don't train your people well. A long time ago, I figured out that I'm certainly not smart enough to come up with all these ideas. I need my team to come up with those ideas. And the only way that happens is if you train them that they're allowed to think and they want to think and they're involved in it and they have an entrepreneurial mindset so that they're thinking it's their business. They treat it like it's their business as much as yours because it is their business as well. And so you just got to treat your people right, have the right technology, and then train them. You know, we figured out a long time ago, we used to have a saying that said, you take care of your customers, your business will take care of you. And that really worked when we first started out. But as time moved on, we figured out if you take care of your employees will take care of your customers, and your business will take care of you. It's just an old saying that people have been saying for a long time that's just updated a little bit, but it's more true today than it was when whoever thought of it a long time ago.
Absolutely. We have a similar saying here at Raymond Search Group, which is we can't control what our customers do, what our clients do or don't do, but we can control how we approach them, how we treat one another while we're here. And a happy, motivated workforce is a productive workforce. And that enthusiasm, that good spirit, that friendly nature, and that, I guess, vibe really carries over. You know, who wants to work for someone that gives an uncomfortable work environment? And frankly, if you're a buyer, who wants to have a miserable crew show up?
Right.
You can tell. You can tell when someone comes up and they're having a bad day, a bad week, a bad month, a bad, tenure with an employee, and it rubs off. So if you treat your people well, they're certainly, for the most part, they're going to take care of their customers. But
So
it starts at the top down. And I think that's one thing about StormSmart. You've done a great job setting the culture from the top down and encouraging that open dialogue.
So thank you. But I'll tell you a little trick that we do, and I just don't get why more companies don't do it. But I just firmly believe that it's all of our job to make this world a better place when we leave than when we get there. I just truly believe in that. And so a number of years ago, we got involved in giving, and I can tell you a short story about it all, but we got involved in giving back to the local area. And giving is the most amazing thing that ever happens. And it just seems like the more you give, if you give for the right reason, with the right heart, the more you get. And so every time we've done something to help somebody out, it's come back to us in bucket loads. But what also happens is, a lot of times we'll do something and it'll get on the news. And then all of our employees get to see us on the news doing something really cool. And it just builds their pride. And it makes them more excited to work for the company that's trying to make Southwest Florida a better place. And so I don't get why more people don't give back, because in the end, it doesn't cost you anything. It gets you more than you could ever imagine. And it's a fun thing to do, and it makes the world better. And honestly, in business, it's far better than advertising if you do it for the right reason with the right logic. And that's something that we started doing probably more than a decade ago, and something I'm the most proud of. One of the most things I'm the most proud of about my business is, last year we gave away a lot of money and product, and we have what we call our We Care program. And every month during the hurricane season, we give somebody who's got this compelling story a full house full of shutters at no charge, and it's just a cool thing to do. And it's just helped our business grow. And I almost could draw a line from when we started doing that to when we started really setting record sales, and our business just skyrocketed. And today we're the biggest people in the United States at doing what we do. But I truly believe it's because we're committed to giving back to the community.
That's huge, Brian. One of the things we talk about, and it's funny because one of my colleagues and I were just talking about this, Roy, shout out to you on this one, that we've noticed every time we've donated, helped out, volunteered, done something in some way to help a bigger cause, it's come back in buckets, like you said. And the big thing is giving and helping without expectation of anything in return, not doing it to be noteworthy, to get any attention for it, but just doing it to do it, and with that intention. And it's come back tenfold in some cases.
That's why I said you have to do it with the right heart. If you do it so that you can get on TV, that probably doesn't work. No. But if you do it when nobody's watching and then somebody happens to notice, that's what happens. So we do it because it's the right thing to do for our community. But it just has these other effects on me personally and our employees that really pays back so much. And I received an email yesterday from one of our employees, and just he was telling me how proud he was that we helped out XYZ. And as an owner of a company, when one of your employees stops for a moment, doesn't complain about not getting paid, but compliments you on the things that you're doing that have really nothing to do with the business, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Are there any organizations you support that you want to give a shout out to and shine a spotlight on in the hopes that other companies can support them along the way?
Yeah, there truly is. There's two that we really think are amazing, and they're both nonprofits. We've been involved with the Honor Flight for the last 4 years, where you fly a plane load of veterans up to DC for the day and take them around to all the different monuments, and most of them are approaching the end of their life or the later part of their life, and you watch these guys and girls who gave so much so that we could live in the country that we live in, and we've been involved in that, and it's just an amazing organization where 100% of the money that goes into it. That's it there. And then the other one that we've been involved with a lot is the Harry Chapin Food Bank. One of the many awful things that came out of the pandemic is the need for feeding people. Now, that need was there prior to this all starting, but certainly even in Southwest Florida, a lot of people have struggled this last year. And the thought that people could be going hungry in the economy in the world that we live in today is just mind-boggling to me. So we do anything and everything we can to help the Harry Chapin Food Bank. And there's a lot of food banks around there that are good. We just happen to get attached to that one. And again, it's an organization where 100% of the money you give and the effort you give goes right back to the cause that you're a part of.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask you after this interview to give some links that we can share with viewers of the show so they can donate.
Sure.
A couple organizations we support here is Wounded Warrior Project.
Right.
And that organization is doing amazing work for the wounded veterans that come back, and disabled veterans and folks in the military. It's incredible the work that they do. The other is Special Olympics, which we find has done a great job empowering folks that typically, get overlooked by society in a number of ways. Those are two organizations we really support. And then the third is, Water is Life. So we'll provide links to those three as well.
Right.
Before the show, we were talking about a couple of things. One of them was making the jump from an entrepreneur, solopreneur, smaller company to really growing the company and taking that next step where it's no longer you and a handful of people, but now it's you and 20 to 50 or more other folks. What were some of the things that you did that helped you get to where you go? And what advice would you give to others that are, in similar industries that want to grow their business?
Okay, so let me tell you a few quick things because you hit on some really important parts there. But I remember when we were first starting out, we struggled, just like any business. We were undercapitalized. We didn't, we were three of us, and it was more of a, well, you want a real job or you want to work for ourselves type of thing. And that just didn't work out. But I remember when we were first starting out, we were struggling. And this mentor of mine came and told me this story. And he said, Brian, I'm going to tell you something. Businesses don't fail, people quit. And I always remember that, and would advise anybody who's going into business to remember that it told me that if I got up every morning and I swung the bat, that our business would survive. And so that got me started and kept me going when it was really tough. But in order to do our business, we didn't have a lot of money for marketing in the very beginning. And I'd go out and give these the hurricane talks all over the place, whoever would listen to us. So I was working all day long, building shutters, installing shutters, and then going out in the evenings and pitching shutters. And I was trying to do everything. And all we were doing is we were chasing payroll, we were chasing cash and doing. And I remember this was a long time ago, and cell phones weren't all as kind they are today. I remember I would go through 2 cell phone batteries a day. My phone would never stop ringing. I was eating Tums like it was like they were candies. And I was trying to do everything myself. And this other mentor of mine came and said, look, Brian, if you continue doing what you're doing, you're going to kill yourself. You cannot keep this pace up. And I said, I can't afford to hire somebody. I'm barely making ends meet as it is. I can't possibly afford to hire someone. He said, trust me, watch how this works. So I had a guy working for us. He was our sales guy, and he was pretty much the sales department. And I met with him and talked to him, and eventually I convinced myself really to hire him to help me, and he would do the things he was good at, and I would do the other side of the business. From that day on, that day I hired him on, our business changed. Like it was like a light switch. We went from a struggling company that barely could make payroll to a company that was on its road to Inc. magazine. And it truly happened. It was crazy how we just went vertical after that. And today we employ 300 people. And you'll learn as you start building your business that you can't do everything yourself. You hire great people and you have to trust them. And then you got to get out of their way and let them do the job. If you're going to make every decision, you don't need those people and you're going to stay a small business. But if you hire the right people, you teach them the culture you want, let them make decisions. Sometimes they'll be different than yours, but as long as they don't make the same mistake 2 and 3 times in a row, your business will scale. And then you can get it, because there's no way you can become a multi-million-dollar organization and you call all shots. And even if you could, there's no fun in it, and it will make you a miserable person. Today, I spend most of my life not even in my business. I work on my business, and I let the managers and leaders of my company run the company, and I try to go look for new opportunities or the philanthropic stuff that I like to be involved with, and let those people run the business. And believe me, it runs better with those people running it than with me doing it.
Right. The jack of everything and the master of none rarely is sustainable. Right. We've talked about a couple of things that help you scale. You brought up technology. People are big. We want to give a shout out to some of our technology partners. Outreach has been huge. We use it as a light CRM, and we use it for our customer and our prospect engagement. I don't know if you guys use something similar with Salesforce or Marketo, but if there's any technology you want to touch on specifically that's made things a heck of a lot easier for you, by all means.
Well, I'm a huge Salesforce guy, and not really just for its CRM, because there's a lot of CRMs out there. But what we use Salesforce really for is all of our workflow and all of our paperwork and automation. And that's what we do. We do somewhere around 700 jobs a month right now. And if
Wow.
you have to call every one of those 700 people each time you want to do something, it's almost impossible. And nobody wants to answer the phone to start with. So, but if you can use technology and automate all either through text or email, hey, we're going to be there next Tuesday. Hey, here's your permit. Hey, here your job's complete. Here's your billing. We automate almost our entire middle to back end, and we couldn't scale the way we are without some kind of technology. We use Salesforce, and I believe it, but there's certainly others that do similar things. You have to have technology if you want to scale. You just can't keep it all straight any other way.
Agreed. The biggest challenge that I think firms see with technology outside of implementation and finally using it is they don't want to lose the human touch
Right.
of being able to work with somebody. But at the same time, you need to implement technology. You go too far on tech and you become a robot, you lose that interaction. But if you don't use it, you're doing everything yourself, and it's a nightmare to keep up with. So how did you bridge the gap and make it both sustainable and also keep that, human touch?
Well, it's almost another pandemic story, because what happened was when we knew we were going into lockdown, I had made the decision that we were going to come out a better company. So I was going to use that 6 or 8 weeks when we were going into lockdown to institute a new operating system for our company. And we'd already started with Salesforce. And so during the time when we were all working from home, where I thought we weren't going to be busy, we started instituting Salesforce into our platform. But then we started growing, which became really a struggle because we're instituting new software at the same time we were having record sales. But we did, to more directly answer your question, you cannot take the human out of it. We're in the customer service business. Everybody in business is truly in the customer service business. And if you lose sight on that, you probably won't continue to grow. You have to, it's all about relationships. And so the way we do it isn't, we do automate a lot of the things that can be automated, but really it's more about workflow. And so that when you show up in the morning and come to work, on your home screen, it tells you the 6 people or 60 people you've got to call today, and you got to make that call. But you don't have to remember who you're going to call. The machine will do that. And that's it there. We're selling products to homeowners. You've got to touch customers. If not, then it's only price. And if you want to get in a price war and you want to go to, I don't know if I can say the name of the department store that sells cheap stuff, but if that's what you're going to do. That's not the business we're in. We're in the high-end customer service business. And I can tell you that we haven't touched on this, but one of the things that I'm most proud of about my company is 62% of our business is referral-based sales. And that only happens if you talk to customers and treat them right and work them and do what you're saying you're going to do and then some. But that's the way you're going to grow. If you've got to create a new lead every single day, that's a really expensive way of running a business. You want it to be referral based. And so each year, every year for a long time, more than half of the business, today 62% of the business we do is because we did somebody's brother, sister, or mother a year ago.
It's great. Referrals are, I think, the lifeblood to growing a business. What better marketing is there than someone who advocates for you? Well, you touched on a good point too, that I think it's been a problem in the industry for years. Price wars, bidding wars. We see a lot in our industry too, where people have this idea of what something should cost, and they'll try to negotiate. And and understanding what you do, you're not trying to be the cheapest option. You're trying to be the best option for what that person is looking for. So do you ever find yourself turning down work because the margins just aren't there to do it the right way?
Certainly. If you don't, then you have a whole different problem. But I will tell you,
Yeah.
our industry is a little different than others
Mhm.
in that most people, no, I don't know many people who want to buy the cheapest form of protection for their house. It's
Mhm.
like saying, let's buy the cheapest seatbelt you can buy or the cheapest
Oof.
helmet you can put on. So if you're going to protect your house, it's not quite the same way. But truly, if you do things right, people buy value. They don't buy price. If you're getting hammered every day about price, then you probably haven't established the value of your product. And there's a
Right.
lot more to a product than price. And you just need to make people aware of the value of what they're getting so you're not competing on price. Because competing on price is just a race to the bottom. Somebody always will sell something cheaper.
Oof.
But again, it's a cliche, but you've got price, quality, and service. You don't pick two. And that's kind of how it goes. We just believe that that our products, and I truly believe this, are the best value for our industry. And the fact that the proof of that is that we're the biggest company in our industry. So, but we don't sell price, we sell value.
That reminds me of the saying where if you think it's cheap to hire a professional, hire an amateur and see what
Right,
happens.
right. It's exactly right. Try the alternative, right? And see
Yeah.
you make a decision when you go into business and whether you want to be the low price leader of an industry or you want to be the value. Now, we just chose the value a long time ago. And it allows you to be in a position where you can service customers and you can have relationships. If you're selling something as the cheapest guy in town, and somebody's always going to knock you off, so you better be ready to go right to the bottom.
Mhm.
You don't have the money to take care of your employees. You don't have the money to take care of your customers. And it's just a vicious race to failure.
One of the reasons I think that customers go the bidding route is because they've never been properly educated
Right.
about the right way to do things. And they
Right.
don't think of the subtle nuances
Right.
where in recruiting, for example, people want to beat up recruiters over fees. That's fine. I'm not going to play that game. But a lot of folks have never been educated on the importance of replacement periods. How much time are you spending interviewing people? How many resumes do you need to see before you hire somebody?
Right.
What are some things that StormSmart does differently that really stands out as value and reasons that folks want to buy from you versus some of the smaller competitors out there?
There's just so many. First of all, it's our people.
Right.
Yeah, it's the people who do. When you do business with us, it's not you don't have to. It's not me. It's our people, and they show up and they believe that what we're doing is the best and smartest thing you can do, and so it isn't. Nobody's talking price. I mean, I'm not saying that price is always important, but we don't if we're the lowest bidder on a job, there's something we missed something somewhere because that's just not who we are. We're by far the best value, but it's the people that you'll deal with and how we'll deal with you that is so important.
What are some examples of that
Well, first of all,
customers might see?
we have a zero tolerance to bad customer service, and all of our products are guaranteed for life. We're not going to call you. You're not going to call me up 3 years from today, 5 years from today, and I say, "Gosh, Jeff, I wish you'd call me 2 weeks ago because your warranty would be in effect." That's just not who we are. When you buy our products, we expect them to work forever as long as you don't do something crazy to them. And so it's that way there. And then, we believe that the customer's right. And the customer's right. If we didn't explain to you what you were getting correctly, then shame on us. We're the professional. Let's do it right. We have a zero tolerance to bad customer service. Whenever I interview people to come work for us, the one thing I say is I'll pledge to you right now that you will never have a problem with a customer thinking that we rip them off somehow. Now, I might have a problem with you for what you did, but we're going to satisfy that customer definitely. No matter what, unless this person is outright criminal, we're going to satisfy that customer. And we don't, it's not about whether we make profit or not. That's never a part of the discussion. We're going to exceed that customer's expectations, period. And again, I might shoot the installer, the salesperson, or somebody like that later, but not the customer. We're gonna satisfy you, and we're not gonna leave until we do.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And I think that customer service, that warranty, things like that get overlooked. And if you focus solely on price, warranty, service, and people can be a big blind spot for you.
Right. And you, because you can't, if you don't make any money in front, how can you service them on the back? It just doesn't, that math doesn't work. You have to make money on the front so that you can service them on the back. And that's so important. Yeah, it's important when you deliver the product, but they want to make sure that our products have moving parts. They want to make sure that that product's going to work when they need it, when they want it. And that's what you have to do. And the fact that, we've been in business for 26 years is huge, and that's how it works. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And looking at the time, I know we're coming up on a hard stop here. So before going, I'm sure you've had some really great mentors over the course of your career. What do you think the importance of finding a good mentor is? How do you recommend approaching them? And what have you learned from them that has changed the way you've worked and done business?
Pretty much everything. It starts with that. I don't know that I would be where I am today if it wasn't for a few of the mentors I've learned along the way. We started out by talking about UMass Lowell when we started this whole thing. And I still go to school today. I mentioned to you earlier, I'm working on my master's degree today. I think education is a lifelong experience, and you cannot lead a company and continue to lead that company unless you're continuing to grow as the owner. Too often people become owners and they know everything, and it's simply not true. Things change, technology changes, ideas change. You mentioned the sales thing. Most of the time people don't really know how to sell people products correctly. It's all part of education. So I'm a huge believer in being involved in education for two reasons. It helps me grow, but also as a leader of a company, I do a lot of things with the school, so I can see kids and younger people who are coming out of school that might have the characteristics that I'm looking for to grow my company, and I get the first shot at them if I catch them early. So we do it that way. Mentors come into your life, and you just gotta open your ears and close your mouth and listen to what they have to say. And you never know where the next great idea is going to come from. It comes from the craziest places, and so you just gotta listen.
Agreed. Well, Brian, it's been great having you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. If folks want to reach out to you for business, for other inquiries, tell them how to reach you.
Okay, well, the name of our company is StormSmart. So it's www.stormsmart.com, stormsmart.com. You can reach me at brian@brianrist.com or brist@brianrist.com is probably the easiest way. I'm an email kind of guy. So Brian or brist@brianrist.com. That's BRIAN, rist.com, RIST. And I'll send you some money.
And if folks want to find your company's website?
Stormsmart.com, STORMSMART.
Okay. Brian, I'm going to end the recording here. I have a quick follow-up question for you, and it was great having you on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. It was a lot of fun.
My pleasure. Thanks.